CS Candid Leader Insights, the podcast where we dive into the world of customer success with industry leaders. I'm your host, Irina Cismas, and today I'm joined by Dylan Berno, Head of Customer Success at Coast, a fintech company helping businesses control and track fleet spending. Dylan, I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Excellent. I appreciate it, Irina. It's a pleasure to be here.
You didn't start your career in customer success. You came from growth, go to market, lifecycle revenue. Why CS? What triggered the switch?
Yeah, I always stayed pretty close to customers. That was something that was really important to me in my career. But I'd say really two things crystallized for me. First, I realized that on January 1st of every year, customer success was responsible for every dollar already in the business and every dollar that was still available to earn. So I've always seen that as the core of profitable growth. Every retained customer compounds your efficiency, every churn customer resets it. The second piece would really be it was more of an observation of how CS used to operate. I think it's evolved since then. But from outside, like sales, marketing, I kept seeing CS programs that were busy, but not necessarily outcome driven. Nobody had defined what success looked like for the customer or the business, and I wanted to run it differently. I'd actually be curious to hear from you of, as you've done this is, and what made you want to start hosting this show is what were you not hearing enough of?
What I realize is that customer success has a different definition depending on the company, depending on the industry, depending on the moment, depending on the company journey. You were mentioning that you were basically responsible for the revenue and you realized that CS is responsible for the revenue. I was in the position where I was on the marketing side of things and I needed to influence the revenue. So basically, in order to be able to do that, I needed to control the customer journey end to end. And I was from a marketing position. And after that journey, after I would say 2 or 3 years, I realized that I wasn't doing any more marketing. I wasn't doing lifecycle marketing. I wasn't doing product marketing. I think I was doing customer success, but I didn't know at that point that it is called customer success. So I think there are different definitions for the same thing. And why I'm running this podcast is basically because I want to offer and expose as many customer success models and structures and way of organizations as possible, so that others who are either at the beginning of the journey or in the middle of it can get inspirations. This is why I'm running the show. And basically the objective is to let the others live with some concrete things from your own experience. I don't want to talk from theory. I want to talk from practice. I realized that a lot of resources that are available there online do not match the reality from the field. So basically, I want to talk about the reality from the field today together with you.
Excellent.
And because you asked me why do I do this, I want to start with your reality. And now I know that you are leading customer success at Coast. Can you walk us through how the team is set up today and what roles are on the team and what do they own? But before going to the team, maybe you tell us a bit the organization that you function so that we anchor everything and offer a context to our audience.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit about about Coast in general is like we make fleet and fuel payments easy. We give fleet operators, finance leaders at fleet businesses one place to control, track, and reconcile all of their spend, whether it's fuel, maintenance, or everything else their team is buying. And then like their data is organized by the time finance arrives. With that, like we really allow fleet ops and finance teams to focus on exceptions rather than what's in policy. And I think that's a really important part of how we structure the team today. Because like when we think about this, like when I go back to the what is like CS, like how does this look properly? The first thing I really try to understand is the ICP. I want to understand the specific customer the business is trying to serve before anything else, before the org chart, before the tech stack, any playbooks. CS, in my belief, is really at its best as a function that knows its customer better than any other part of the company, or maybe equally as well as product marketing. But if you start with structure instead of the customer, I really think that you're going to build around a gap. So with that, the way we've really set it up today is that our team owns post sale, getting customers live, driving product depth, surfacing expansion opportunities. We've intentionally kept the model quite lean relative to industry benchmarks. I think each CSM carries a larger book than you typically see, which means like the system's doing a lot of work. It really isn't just like a relationship layer. And then like we've extended ownership there into what we'd call like growth engineering today, I think, where we're bridging product, data, and AI to accelerate both acquisition and retention. So like we are the private expansion motion, we're the private activation motion. That's a key of the structure of where we are today. When we get into the team, it really shifts by segment. The priority sequence is like customers get activated, genuinely start using our product, then they deepen their usage across features that drive like real ROI for their business, and then we expand. Onboarding's foundational. Like a customer who doesn't fully activate, they rarely recover. So we invest heavily there, especially in the early milestones, and we try to really continue raising our bar for what great velocity looks like. And then in the long tail, like we've really moved towards telemetry driven outbound motion. So our team isn't waiting. Our perception is you're doing it wrong if you're waiting for customers to ask for help. Well, we live in the future now. We have a lot of fancy tools that can do a lot of cool things. We really say we reach out because the data shows what they're doing or not doing, and it's something that matters. So customers like you who do X and see Y result, it's a much more compelling frame than a generic check-in.
Okay. So you have a lot of systems and you have a lot of automation. We'll talk about that because I'm curious, how do they integrate and what's the AI layer that you are bringing? If the AI is the glue that connects all the things. But before we go into the systems, let me understand. So the teams are split by, you said, by segments, and the segments are driven by the customer ARR, or how did you do the segmentation?
Yeah, so yeah, it's based on the size of the fleet that we're working with. And
Okay.
then, but we also really look at it not just by when we segment our customer base, we don't just do it by their size, we also do it by the life cycle stage that they're in. And this allows us to have a really informed position when we arrive to have a positive interaction with them.
And may I ask the milestones of the life cycle that you have? How did you divide the life cycle, the
Yeah,
stages?
definitely. So our stages are set up like when you come in through sales, we look at activation and really look at that as a funnel, very similar to what an acquisition funnel looks like for a marketing team. Is what is the utilization by your team? And we want to get you to full utilization as quickly as possible. That's really what our team is motivated to do. We have an excellent product, so our retention is like truly best in class. And we have great processes and systems to triage and intervene at the right moments to support that. But we generally have a great product where we're solving like a true problem out there. So it gives us like a really great opportunity to be more proactive and maintain that level.
Is it more from a go-to-market perspective? Is it more hybrid motion, a product-led in a combination with sales-led?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, we're very sales led, but that's something we're working on. And our goal is to make it more of a product led motion in time and have something that's like really easy for our customers to use. We have a really flexible product, which like puts us in a position to solve for a vast variety of trades businesses. But at the same time, that adds some complexity, right? So our team helps people onboard at all times. Our goal is to create the type of environment like within Coast where our platform makes it really easy to self-serve. And what's really cool is living in like the AI world is, we have a great growth team at Coast as well. So like we've collaborated with them on creating like using like a lovable Claude code into Vercel, where like we've created what our product looks like so we can run experiments of what self onboarding looks like, what a driver onboarding looks like, so they know how to use Coast easily. And this has made a meaningful difference in like the value they feel early and like the objections we might face early because we're different than the historical providers. Or like that the intention of that is to inform, these are informed experiments so we can go build this in the product this year.
okay. I think I can no longer postpone the question. Deep dive, please, into the systems that you are using and into the technology that you have in place to basically run the CS function. And not only because based on what you've told me until now, it's more than CS, I would say, or more than a standard CS definition. How do all the pieces connect in terms of systems and tools that you guys use?
Yeah, definitely. We have, yeah, like I said, there's a couple things that like I'll lead with too, is like we have a really open-minded like IT team that like sets really clear guardrails, but they let us experiment like in the right environments. And like I said, we also have a great growth team. So collaborating with them, we've is like really allowed us to start looking at what a modern CS program looks like. With that though, we use Salesforce as our CRM. We use Braze for content and like onboarding campaigns, expansion campaigns. Redshift is like the data backbone. We like build all of our behavioral risk scoring, spend signals, usage telemetry. Grain is for call intelligence, so it surfaces what's actually being said in customer conversations. We use Claude and Attention to enrich our records and systems and help summarize and route insights from those calls into the right workflows. On top of that, this is more recent because Claude has had so many releases over the last 5 weeks with scheduled tasks and things like that, where we've built a hierarchical, like agentic system on Claude. We've recently transitioned a lot into Notion knowledge base that houses our CS motion, our playbooks, our product context, ICP documentation. And then we've set up a plugin layer that connects the foundation to a network of specialized skills that each own a specific workflow. So to give you like a drill down on that, it really operates across two modes. We have recurring schedules that handle the work that should happen, whether anyone asks for it or not, coaching reports, daily digests, call classifications, pipeline summaries. And then we have on-demand skills that handle everything that requires like a specific customer, like really to be context aware for a specific need. So follow-up emails, ROI analysis, onboarding recaps, lifecycle touch points, and then both of those modes draw from the same context stack. So they're going and pulling that like coast intelligence layer as like our growth team that's running this would call it. And it allows us to be really context aware in every moment and have this stuff drafted in your Gmail already for you.
Who helped you orchestrate all those? Was it more on the dev team, on the growth team? You keep mentioning growth. Growth is basically the sales team, or is growth, or there are two different teams?
Yeah,
Is
so
it
our growth team sits in our marketing department. We have it's a small but mighty team. You might say there's five or six of them, but we've oriented them in a way where they have like really specific focuses on customer problems. And yeah, it's really collaborative. Hey, I'm a nerd about this stuff. I love building it out. I'm like a very ops minded person, but this is like these type of projects and infrastructure really takes a village. It takes people like building out the data so it's easy to call upon, and business analytics and our like really the kind of engineering layer underneath that. It takes folks that are really good at building quick experiments and maybe setting up these experiments with code on Vercel, and folks like just having creative ideas that we can run and like test something quickly.
now I have to ask you. It seems like there is a lot of automation and everything is scheduled, everything, and I envision army and agents that are working for you guys, and this is awesome. Now I have to ask you, what does the CS team actually do?
Yeah. I'd also say there's not like an army of agents, right? These are things
Okay,
we're building towards, of course. But yeah,
in
like
the
our
future
CS
it will
team.
be. In the future it will be an army of agents.
Yeah, yeah. With that, our goal has been to shift from high touch coverage to signal driven coverage, so that way we can scale our team and look at what is the modern CS program, what is revenue per head count, what should our NDR be, what is customer value and outcomes. That's truly like the foundation of all of this, of course. But we have signals, so like we can be really intentional. So our team, we spend a lot of our time getting folks activated. Like I said, the
Mhm.
it's easy to experience friction. This isn't necessarily the top of their mind to go solve. These leaders have a lot to focus on, and their business spend and their fuel spend might not be in the top three things at any given moment. So we need to really go create value for them and create urgency. So we really invest a lot of our time into activation and ensuring that we're like driving progress across a really broad range of customers with maybe some unique or different use cases too. Like I said, like our product continues to add, like our platform continues to add new products, and it's really exciting. But like the system aspect is what's allowing us to scale without like doubling headcount every 2 months as our business is growing really quickly. So to circle back though on your question, like what our team's doing is it's activation, it's intervening at the right moment when we predict or we're getting to this stage of being more than proactive when there's risk or people getting off track. And with these tools, we're like genuinely getting close to being predictive with it and saying, hey, like you're probably going to get off track in a week. How could like right now is the right time to intervene? And what is the right message? And like, how do we articulate like any problems that they might be facing so we can get ahead of them?
And this is happening in a meeting. So once you have all those signals, the CS team basically jumps into a meeting and try to walk the customer or anticipate or tell him that, okay, you will reach in a point where what's actually happening once you have all the connected things and the connected and the signals and the issues. Is it something that falls out automatically? And the CS team is there only to make sure that what you've orchestrated is basically working as it was built for, or they are also interacting with the customers. That's the part that I'm missing now.
Oh yeah, sure. So yeah, no, we're picking up the phone and calling them. That's
Okay,
like we're not
okay,
our
okay,
goal is not to send an email.
okay,
Our goal is
okay,
to have a one-to-one human
okay,
conversation with them and but be prepared with like reasons why they should move forward. What is
okay,
working in the product for them? What is like we in our first call every time, and our sales team is like continuing to do a better and better job at understanding what the required outcomes are, like when they enter onboarding for the first time. This has been it's something I think every business needs to get upstream on, where it oftentimes like you get to onboarding and then the CSM says, all right, what are the outcomes you need to see to make this work? We need to have a business should have those conversations like in the first conversation because
mhm,
it informs everything and it really gives you all of the opportunities or fruit, if you will, that you need to benefit from and really drive home from them and position. So that's it. We understand their outcomes, what value looks like immediately. So that way, when we need to intervene, we know like the strings or the threads to pull on and show up prepared with data to back it up so that it's like it is a no-brainer for them to move forward.
if I would ask you, what does it take to build the system that you have now in place at Coast? What would you tell me? What does it take in terms of, I don't know, resources, time, budget, alignment, you name it? What did it meant for you guys to end up today where you are in this moment? And I understand that things are just started, I would say, and you have big plans moving forward.
Yeah, we definitely have big plans. There's a huge problem out there that we have a great solution for. Look, we have a really sharp team. Everybody that sits on our go-to-market leadership team is excellent. They all have really great perspective and they're all like really curious about the change, how the world's kind of changing. So like with that, we had a lot of support across the team and my boss like has great intuition around this stuff. He really has been supportive of it. That's our CRO. And like I said, on our marketing and growth counterparts and our sales team, everybody's like really trying to solve this. We know we have a vision, we know what we need to do. So to like re-architect this, I would say you need events on all of your like data. You need excellent data of what's happening in your product at every moment, and it needs to be easily accessible for the CS team. It can't be like, hey, we need to go to business analytics and get this SQL query. We need to have a query builder with AI so they can just go get it. We're getting closer to the future where now we can just have a conversational layer and say, hey, Irina's not fine. Like, help, I have a call with Irina today. This customer, where are some nuggets for them? Like, as simple as that. Like, what should I be communicating? And it's really context aware and provides this stuff. So, like, the data layer is like a foundational requirement. You can't do this without that because you're never going to be able to call and have the intelligence running. From there, I don't think it's that difficult with a lot of the tools. I really think the biggest thing is like getting that data in an accessible way for your teams. And I think that's like the biggest thing in front of most companies when I talk to other CS leaders. So like I'm incredibly grateful for how our team has been proactive setting up this infrastructure so it's easy for our team to access.
So you need data and data at a certain quality. You need the infrastructure. You need the support of everyone. What about, do you also need some particular skills, or who do you need in your team to
Yeah,
basically help you or partner up with in the CS team? I
yeah,
understand you need the peer level from the other departments, but in the CS, who do you need to
yeah.
basically build this?
Yeah, you need great people speaking with your customers. They need to be like genuinely curious about how they can help these customers. That's like a requirement, right? We can talk about systems all day, but like the people are the most important part of all of this. So like you need someone who can get customers to value fast, that has a muscle for activation and creating urgency. You need at least one or two, even in a smaller team, like data fluent CSMs that can read signals, that can manage relationships and articulate clear stories. That's major, especially for dealing with your larger accounts or like where there's like really ripe expansion opportunities as you improve your product. The data fluency and like articulating what that story is, especially backed in ROI and value, is a requirement. And then you need somebody who's a builder. Like you need people that can build that system, understand the customer journey, establish the right segments, automate lifecycle and expansion marketing with clear messaging. And then like now in the future, you need people that can like help set up agents and assistants to intervene at the right moments and serve your team with the context and personalized touches. So they don't need to go hunt for it because that stuff takes a long time. I used to spend a lot of my time working on large accounts, like really understanding, like going through all of our communications and like looking for things and like finding patterns. We can automate that stuff today, which is amazing.
Dylan, I want to end our conversation here because I want to end it in a super positive note because I'm super. I don't want to ask you. I thought of asking you about the challenges, but I don't want to wrap it up in a negative thing. I want to leave this. I want to leave this on the positive side of things. I'm sure that it wasn't necessarily a lean road, and you had your fair part of challenges along the way. But maybe we'll talk about this in another episode. Now, I want to thank you for this conversation. And it was great seeing what's your vision about modern CS and what you guys are doing and what you've built it and you've implemented in order to scale the CS team. Thank you very much
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
for the conversation. To everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and mastering customer success.